Eats. Hello and welcome to the Dweebz in Japanese podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick.
And I'm also one of your hosts, Khalil.
You say it the same time, the same way every single time. It's great. It's awesome. And then you do that like I thing.
Yeah.
Hello. News update. This is not a Japan weather update, but it's a Japan like general surprise coronavirus update. So I keep asking my wife Judy, like, when is my mother-in-law or her mom going to be coming? And because she was planning to come this month actually, and then it got pushed back to next month, and then now Japan is in lockdown. So I think 10 prefectures from tomorrow are going to be in lockdown for a month. So
okay.
Yeah, so a month from now is when my mother-in-law can start planning to actually come. So it's going to be later than expected, which is a bummer because she really wanted to come sooner, obviously. But so that's a little bit of a bummer, and also kind of shows that Japan went from only having a couple dozen to now a couple hundred, and now a couple thousand infections. So they're taking that a little bit more seriously than they were. But it's interesting because I know people who have gone to Japan actually from to Japan, and then like completely skip the lockdown. Or sorry, not skip the lockdown, but skip the quarantine, like the 2-week quarantine thing. Like they don't even. I've heard that people don't even really follow it over there because they don't do anything apparently. So they're bad at enforcing it right now. I don't know if they're gonna with the lockdown if they're gonna be a little bit more strict about that, because they were super strict in Hawaii. They were like on Oahu, at least they're giving out tickets for everything. It's crazy. They're like a complete 180 now though, because they don't really care or do much anymore. But
gotcha.
Weird. Yeah.
Have you seen any news about the Olympics? Do you think that's why they're trying to lock down? I don't know.
That's a good point.
Plan is.
Yeah, the article I was looking at was talking about just the details of the lockdown, because like which businesses can open, like from what times they'll be open, and then some of the numbers. But I don't see anything about the Olympics here. I don't see anything about the Olympics here because most normal people aren't really super concerned about that right now. But that is an interesting question. I actually do want to kind of know about that, because Abe-san, the previous prime minister, and then the new one, I forget his name. Yeah, I forget his name. But the new prime minister, he was, they're all talking about like wanting to obviously do the Olympics as soon as possible. But when the whole entire world is dealing with this, it's like a little bit harder. It's also weird to think about, like they're gonna have the Olympics either this year or next year. I honestly think probably next year. I don't know if they're gonna be able to do this year. But then they're gonna have it, and then what are they gonna do? Like 2 years later, have another Olympics in a different country? Like, is that how it's gonna work? It's gonna be still on schedule, because I think that they're probably gonna do it that way. They're just gonna postpone this one and then continue with the normal.
It would make sense,
because I think they have it planned out, at least a couple in advance. Because it's a lot of infrastructure building. There's a lot of like planning and money around that. So it's kind of interesting to think about what's going to happen. But yeah, I still have the Olympics 2020 shirt, Tokyo 2020. That's gonna stay a relic. I almost wish I wore it. I guess anybody didn't wear it. I guess anybody can make a T-shirt at any time and then sell it. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's not like some sort of relic or anything. But
who knows? It might be.
Who knows? It might be, with my sweat and everything on it. Somebody on eBay will buy it. It's just how much money is what I'm concerned about. Yeah.
Right.
So you have a story. So moving on from the latest news about Japan, which is sort of like kind of dark and sad, the lockdown, especially for me. But moving on from that, there's a more like kind of fun, odd story, right? I don't really know, because you're gonna have to explain.
Yeah, it's wouldn't say it's exactly a story, but it's more of an interesting thing. So
Okay.
if you want to look at that link, you can see a picture, and what it is in well, what was the name? Mm, mm, mm.
So you're gonna have to describe this because this is a
Mon
podcast, right?
Betsu.
So
Yeah, yeah. Monbetsu, there is a giant crab claw statue for some reason,
that's pretty crazy.
right? And it's like stuck in the ground facing up, and
That's insane.
so the article I'm looking at is from the Tofugu website, and it has their staff all like with their arms outstretched all around it, and there's about two, three, four, five, like six people for the or four people for the diameter, so it's quite big. Um, and it's kind of funny because in the article they kind of talk about how there's not too much else around that area, so it just kind of makes me think of just a giant crab claw in basically the middle of nowhere. That's fun.
So looking at the picture, it looked like it was coming out of the ocean. And then now when I look at the, because it's part of the cover of the article, so the title, the headline is kind of
Hmm.
covering the bottom. But when I look at the bottom, I see
Yeah,
it's
and then
next to the ocean, but it's its own thing.
right,
It's on
yeah, because
gravel.
on the
Yeah.
map it shows that it's yeah. Apparently it's that platform it's on is mobile because it wasn't from Onbetsu. It came from somewhere else. It was moved. So
I
I'm
saw.
assuming that platform
I'm
is
looking at the sign, yeah, in front of it, and they had it at one point on, on the water, like a big crab claw that was
it's
on
kind of
the water.
scary.
So this looks like a tourist destination too. It looks like they have.
Yeah.
That's so
Yep.
interesting.
Oh, one thing I wanted to point out I just remembered was so the staff all like wrote a little comment about it, about like their experience there and rated it, like is it worth going?
Mhm.
And everyone's like, yeah, it was cool. And then, like it's the excitement wears off kind of fast, right? Because
So is that
but
is that
Koichi he
thing?
says
Yeah.
Koichi says, "Don't let my coworkers fool you. This crab claw was a life-changing event." There's a small door hidden in the rear of the statue, and there isn't a day that goes by where I don't think what could lie within. That's pretty it's pretty Koichi-like,
So,
isn't it?
yeah. So is that article was that article written by staff that and did they all go?
Yeah, it looks like a group of them went. I don't know all of the team from
Oh,
Tofugu, but
okay.
there's a handful of them. A group went.
That's cool because I often see them hire out like freelance writers for their articles, like an article like this. So that's
Mhm.
cool that they wrote this one and they actually went. Um, I have no idea where Mombitsu is. I have to look that
I
up.
don't either.
Yeah, but those kind of things
I
too,
haven't
like
either.
our or my hometown, close to your hometown, also has that Viking and like
Yeah.
the Viking statue. And then I remember talking to the mayor actually because it was like for a college project with Adam, and we went to talk to the
Mm.
mayor of Fallsbow, and we're asking her like, so what's up with this Viking statue thing? Like, why was that so hard to get in there? And like, why, it's all donation money or whatever. And she was talking about like
Mhm.
my naive younger mind was thinking like, is this for tourism? Like, is this going to help businesses around there? Like just because of this silly thing? And she's like, it kind of, but realizing that she's talking to kids, she's like, but yeah,
Oh my god.
like she didn't want to go into the details,
Yeah.
because it's not going to save businesses over there. But it was odd though. Is often when I visit and I drive by there, I do see people stopping by and taking pictures in front of the Viking statue because it's like very very unique and big. It's bigger than a normal
Mhm.
human size.
It's
Um,
in kind of an awkward place, I feel,
it is in an awkward
to
place, and
get
you can't
to.
really park to get to it. You have to park like
Yeah.
across the street, and that's a
Just
sort
walk over
pretty
there,
busy
yeah.
street. So I don't
Mhm.
know. And that whole like Viking Avenue, which is sort of like the perfect fit for the Viking statue. That whole road is definitely like had a lot of trouble with businesses, especially. the past couple of years. So I guess that was sort of like the thinking, is it like Viking Avenue, the Viking, and then maybe some businesses, people will stop by there and like pop into some of the stores and delis and stuff. But I don't know. Interesting. Crab claw crab claw statue. I wonder if it was the same type of thing. Like people come, they get in front of the big, huge statue, and then I saw that picture of the store, like the gift shop or whatever, or I don't know if it was a supermarket. Kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That would have been super interesting to build, as an artist yourself too. Like
I was trying to look into the artist and like kind of the history of the actual building of it. I didn't really find much. It's kind of odd.
Unknown.
Artist
unknown. Yeah. So those type of builds too at so I did glass arts, right? And I was like that type of size or even bigger glass art sculptures, like thinking about coordinating, everybody to put that thing together so that it doesn't, like, you don't drop anything and it breaks and shatters and that $1 million piece is just like ruined. That kind of stuff is crazy. It's very, very admirable. This is a little bit different though, but still very cool. Awesome. So what about you, Khalil, and your Japanese study news, I guess?
So moving on up, I'm trying to hit some trouble words that aren't like the Wall of Shame words, just things that keep coming back up and that I've noticed I struggled with the last time I was doing it. And so I've been trying to kind of hammer on those. I haven't been writing them down as much as I wanted, because I find that I learn a lot faster when I write things down. So I need to start doing that a little more.
Like in notes and stuff?
Yeah, or just even writing them, like going through each stroke. It helps kind of commit it to memory for me.
Judy was saying the exact same thing to me, and I agreed, but at the same time, for me, it was like so tedious to have to do that, because I feel like I wasn't progressing at all if I tried to do that, because I tried to for a little bit. But that's interesting that you feel the same way.
Yeah, well, it's just people learn in different ways,
Yeah, for sure.
And I definitely have more of a writing / drawing kind of. I think my brain's more geared towards that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
Yeah. Plus, I don't feel the same way with like progression. I feel like it's helping because I do it for words that I struggle with. That to me is progressing it. You know what I mean? Because I don't do it for every single word, like the words I know. I want to do it for words that I'm struggling with, or kanji that I keep getting confused. That way I can really solidify the differences between the ones I'm getting mixed up, for example.
That makes sense for sure. Yeah, it happens all the time with me. So, and I don't really I think, I'll just do better next time. Like, I'll just see it more with the SRS and Wanikami, and I'll just try to differentiate more. Like, I don't really put too much effort into that. But I feel like, yes, if there's like two kanji that look really similar, but they're different, and especially when you write them over and over and over, they're like completely different. That is a good practice for sure.
Honestly, I have these pens that I like writing with too, so it's just more more of an excuse to use them too.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you, whatever works for anybody, Interesting.
Right. I've been like I said, I've been trying to learn. I've been doing more lessons, and I have about, let's see, I'm almost there. I have like 20 left, but I should be progressing. It's because I got like a handful of words that I keep missing. I haven't been able to get past level 4 yet, but I'm like right there at the edge. And what was I saying? Yeah. So I've been trying to push learning more words, right? And then also been wanting to do more grammar stuff, but it's scary.
Scary?
So I've been so I haven't really made much progress on that.
So the thing, I guess I understand that, because it's sort of overwhelming at first when there's like all these different concepts to know about. But I think that would be more helpful for learning grammar, like sort of incrementally, sort of like you build your vocabulary too. would be to
Mm-hmm.
don't try to take on everything before you even experience it in the wild. I would say like experience it in the wild, look at the verb or whatever you're looking at, and maybe you understand parts of it, but then like the conjugation or whatever is odd, or the way it fits in the sentence is weird to you, and you don't really get it, and then go look it up.
Yeah.
So, and there's a couple of resources that I definitely want to point out near the end of the podcast to help with grammar, because grammar is definitely really hard, especially for people who like graduate from Wanipani. But
Mm.
obviously, it's really really helpful for speaking and writing and reading, just like the language in general.
Mm.
But I'd say speaking is a little different. It's a little bit more relaxed. People take more
Yeah.
liberties, and it's a little bit easier to and less intimidating to get into. Even though it probably seems like the most intimidating. Honestly, the most intimidating to me is like writing, like
Mm.
an essay or something like that, because then grammar
Mm-hmm.
matters a little bit more. You're trying to be correct, so
Yeah, that makes sense.
so so grammar is your next. Are you're trying to not do grammar right now or something? Is that what you said?
I'm trying to push into it very
Okay,
confidently though, because it's
cool.
like, because like I know some of the more basic things, but honestly, some of them I learned so long ago. I don't really know why some of them are right. It's like that kind of a thing. So I have to
Do
kind of
you have an
I want to
example?
kind of go back and properly, huh?
Do you have an example?
Like knee, I think.
Oh, ni, yeah,
I can't exactly describe it, but I think I can use it somewhat correctly sometimes.
yeah, and a lot of it is that it's like there's a couple things, more than a couple things. It's hard for me to describe in English what exactly how it's used and what it means and how it, what like nuance it has in a certain context or in a certain
Yeah.
way that you say it. And so trying to put it into English words is often really difficult. But the more you see it and the more you hear it, the more obvious it is to yourself.
Yeah.
The meaning and the nuance and the importance of it in like in a sentence. So even like wa versus ga, I couldn't honestly explain to you when you would use like grammatically when you would
Mhm.
use one or the other. I heard it. I think I heard it one from somewhere from somebody either reading. I think I read it somewhere that somebody said that if ga, so if a sentence doesn't make sense without the like the noun or the subject or whatever, and then ga, if you just say like the verb, for example, then if it doesn't make any sense without that, you should use ga. But if you don't really need it for the sentence still to make sense, you should use wa. So if it's like 彼は ご飯食べました。ご飯を食べました。That you don't really need the 彼は because it's like it still makes grammatical sense. Like ご飯を食べました。Like somebody something, whatever like the context is with
Oh,
food, so it still makes sense. But if I say something like
Ooh.
um um 猫が来た or 来ました like the cat came, that if I say kimashita, it's like, okay, what? Like
Yeah.
it makes less sense. Like it's just a verb, but it makes less sense than if I say neko ga kimashita. Like the
Oh, interesting.
no.
I think
So
I kind of get what you're
Ga's a little
saying.
bit
Yeah.
Ga's up more emphasis, and it's like the cat came, and that's the
Yeah.
subject. It's like if I say neko wa kimashita, it sounds a little bit less correct than ga. And it's like there's a bunch of nuances, and it's hard to
Hmm.
describe it unless you
It's a
are more
feeling thing
exposed.
too.
It's a feeling thing, and when you're more exposed to it, it makes more sense. But definitely,
Mhm.
like if it doesn't make much sense or it's really hard to understand, you should probably use ga. And if it's just like more descriptive um,
Interesting.
words, then you use wa. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, what about you? What about your updates with the your journey to becoming super master.
What is it? The Hindu guru, right? Is
Yeah,
guru the
the
top
guru.
of the Brahmin? I'm becoming
Oh god,
the
I don't
Japanese
remember the
Brahmin.
hierarchy.
That's the whole caste system. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's in India. Yeah, so I've been speaking a lot of Japanese with my wife. That's like kind of normal though. It's not really
Yeah.
like a new thing. And obviously that has helped me a lot. She's awesome and really, really helpful. So I put more credit to her than like my own study, to be honest. Wanikani's obviously been really, really helpful, and that's like the one kind of constant. Besides her, like her and Wanikani is just helping build my vocabulary list. Doesn't help with grammar at all. The speaking definitely helps with grammar more. So,
yes.
And like, I feel, my reading progress has been okay. Like I'm making steady progress. I'm reading a page here and there. Like I think I'm on page 50 or something now of the book, but it's like a 500-page book. So
Oh, dang.
I'm like a tenth of the way through.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but at the same time, like I have some other books that are shorter. They're like 200 pages or something like that. And I feel like that, if I'm already 50 pages through, I feel like that would be almost like a better option for me right now, just to get that dopamine hit of like, I finished a book, yay, and I can move on to the next book, yay. But
That's
this book
understandable.
is interesting, but at the same time, it's like I'm not super engaged quite yet, and I think most of it is because it's like the setting is here in the United States and it's in Wyoming. And so I'm like not really super invested in it because it's not like it's stuff that I'm familiar with. For some people, that might be cool. Like they're like, "Hey, this is weird. I'm reading a Japanese book about my country, like a place in my country, and like I'm already interested in the story, so I just want to read Japanese." Say like Harry Potter or something like that. Like I read Harry Potter a million times, but I want to read Harry Potter in Japanese. Like somebody might really want to do that, but for me, I want to read new stuff. Like I want to read um, about Japanese history, or I want to read about Japanese like I don't know, not fiction, but especially nonfiction. So I might pick up a different. But all my books are fiction, so I'll probably just pick up a different book that's a little bit shorter.
Yeah, that wouldn't
I'm
hurt.
probably gonna do that. Yeah,
Nice.
but I'm a completionist, so like I like to commit to something and then say I'm gonna finish it. But I almost feel like with this, I don't want it to be. I really don't want it to become work. I don't really want it to become study. I want it to become be fun.
Once it becomes work, that kind of at that point, I don't know if it's quite the same thing for even for a completionist. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't do it because you feel like you have to. You should do it because you want to do it. You know?
Yeah, and I don't feel that way with this book right now, but I feel like I definitely want to progress a little bit more in a shorter amount of time because like I'm already super busy. You're super busy. Like throughout the day, I'm always like I'm working a full-time job, and then I'm doing like another contract for a couple hours, and then I have like, and then off every other day I'll like skate for 5 hours, and like all these things that take up my time that I really highly prioritize. And like Japanese is obviously one of those things I prioritize too. I'm doing one economy the other day and speaking Japanese all the time. But like as far as books, that's a leisure thing. So I want it to be a leisure thing. And in the Japanese books too, I want it to be a leisure thing. I have a bunch of English books too queued up that I want to read. So it's like I want to think of them as the same. Like I want to think of a Japanese book and an English book as the same. And if the content is interesting, then I want to read it. I don't really care about the language. So in that case, if a book like this one is becoming more study and less like fun, I'd rather just like put it down and then go to something else. But honestly, I do this with English books too. Like I'll start reading it and be like, there's another book that I really want to read that I don't really want to take the time right now to finish this book. And so
you just want to get to the other one.
But then I'll like try to push through it a couple times and then basically just stop reading entirely.
Yep, that's what happens when you get to that point. Yeah, once you get to that point where you feel like you have to push through it and you keep pushing through it, usually like I end up just dropping it forever after that.
Yeah, and it's the problem. Like I feel like I shouldn't do that, but it's a bad habit of getting into it. I do that with games too. Like for example, I was playing Mario Galaxy. I know it's a good game. I know people really enjoyed it. I know people have like lots of nostalgia with that game, but I couldn't get past a couple. Like I got 10 hours into it or something like that. I'm like, this is like old. Like it's good. I get it because I love. Odyssey was really really fun. I love the game, and I put a ton of hours into that. But I don't really. I had Hades. I just bought the Hades, and I was like, oh, I really want to play Hades because that's new, and I know I'm gonna like it. And then sure enough, as soon as I started playing that, I was like addicted. I'm still addicted. Like I put like, I don't even know how many hours, probably 70 hours or something, 70, 80 hours in that game.
Nice, yeah, it's a great game.
So that was like worth it. I'm like, that's sort of
look at it. You traded him not having fun to having fun.
To having fun and enjoying
That's a good trade right there.
That's exactly. So I should do the same exact thing with books. So that's my kind of plan. I think it's just.
It's hard to do though because you have to. Let go, and sometimes it's just hard for some reason. I don't know why.
Especially with study, like for example, if you're watching a show and you're not interested in it, but you're like, it's the same. Like for example, if you're trying to watch a show in Japanese, right, and you're trying to go for like a children's show, that's like basically like Baby Shark, but Japanese. Like you're not gonna be. Most people are not gonna be interested in that, but they're doing it just because it's simple Japanese, right? But
yeah,
how long can you do that? How long can you sustain that? Like it's a little tricky. It's almost worth it to just like try to, jump into the deep end. Like jump into the deep end with like a show that you really, really like, and then not understand half the words in there, but still like enjoy the visuals, enjoy the music, enjoy like all that. Like watch some anime that you like, or that you've never seen before. And then like go back and then try to pick out, and then say like Darker Than Black. You watch that all in Japanese, no subtitles or anything like that, or maybe just Japanese subtitles. And then you like pick out pieces of it and like, oh, what is going on? This is crazy, but I don't really understand the nuance of the story. And if you're really obsessed with it, you'll watch it again and again and again, and then pick more pieces out. Maybe watch it a couple of years later, pick more pieces out. Actually, that's what I want to do. I want to watch Darker Than Black because I watched that years ago.
Yeah, same.
So it'd be fun to watch again and try to like pick out pieces that I missed. And the nuances that I missed, and it's totally worth doing for me, and like feels fun. It doesn't feel like work at all. You're more willing to put time into it, So.
Yeah.
But beside the point, I sent you those books.
You did.
Finally, yeah. The Nazo, like the children's book. Hopefully that's interesting enough. There's a bunch of like little. Nazo means riddles, so there's like a bunch of little riddles in there. There's like artwork. I think the artwork would be fun. And then another book, another manga actually, that hopefully you'll enjoy. The manga is definitely harder to read than the Nazo book, but the Nazo book is for third and fourth graders. So,
oh boy,
so good luck.
Thanks,
all right,
man.
Chloe, what's your favorite Japanese word or something?
Well, this one just randomly popped into my head once. I don't even know where I heard it from, but I wanted to look up what it meant. Just, I think it's like an expression, or no, it's a word. Iya, right? It's
yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to say, and and it just means like unwilling or like hesitant, right? Or like you don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's weird. That's in the dictionary because yeah is like and they'll say it more than the 2 times. They'll say it like 50 times.
But it's
really don't want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was fun. I didn't learn that from Monikani. It just popped in my head once. I was like, what does that mean? So I just looked it up.
It's kind of cool that it's in the dictionary though, as like the compound, because yeah means kind of no, or like refusing something.
Yeah.
But, like saying it twice or as many times as you want. It's like no.
Keep saying it. See, I didn't know that. That's the nuance that you missed from the dictionary.
Yeah, right. So like if a Japanese person is trying to learn English and they hear somebody say no, and they try to look up no in the dictionary, nothing's gonna pop up.
Not gonna find that.
Yeah, that's funny. That just also pops up in the dictionary. I wonder if there's a nuance there. Like yeah. I've heard that so many times though. Like with everything. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Very very common word.
What do you got?
I got So one of the words that I had no idea, but I know what it is, but I didn't know what the word was. It's called hampan. It's like a fish cake, like a pounded fish cake, but it's a specific type of fish cake. So Judy told me that the
Oh,
other
I
day.
see.
I didn't know what that was. Also, where did I learned this from? So inski I learned from an example sentence in Wanikani, and I asked Judy what it means. But I also looked it up. It means like fraud or sham, and you usually say that about somebody.
Oh,
Or at least that's what Judy's saying. She's like, yeah, I used to say that when I was a young little girl. Like I'd say that about my teacher or something like that. Like, I don't know, still like inski da ne. Like you're like it's kind of like it's a weird translation, but it's kind of like fraud or sham or not real, no integrity. Like you say that about a teacher that you hate or somebody that you don't really like who's like a fraud or whatever. But she said it's kind of an older word, so a lot of people don't really say that except for like kids and stuff. But it's funny. Inski. There's a lot of words like that that are like kind of normally written in katakana and then like kind of almost not really cute sounding, but like kind of catchy sounding like that. Inski.
Mm-hmm.
That stick in my head are really, really easy to remember. That's one of them. All right, Khalil, what's your wall of shame words?
This week's different.
Ooh.
Oh, dang! I can't read this one. I think it's copy again. Sha, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was either thinking that or go the number. So about
75.
I
can see why you get confused there. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said last week, this font looks different on here, so it makes it even harder for me to tell.
It's good to again, it's good to see different fonts though.
And then ni hyaku for some reason, I keep putting Neiman for some reason, and I know it's 200. Like I look at it and I picture the number 200, but for some reason I think I'm like on autopilot for some reason, and
no, yeah, I understand.
It wasn't set up correctly. My autopilot's a malfunction.
That's no good. Cool, you're gonna
because it doesn't look anything
you're
like
gonna go
Mom.
down. Yeah, it doesn't look like Mom, but the top part does. So maybe that's why.
The top part kind of does. That
like the
could
number
be why
and then the top part, and then you just go Mom. But yeah,
but it's not. It's Nihiaku, or
yeah.
Nihiaku.
So you get the reading every. The meaning every time, but the reading is 40%. For sha, for copy, the meaning copy. Sha and shashin. You have sort of like both is a little tricky, the reading and the meaning.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. So for me, mine hasn't changed.
Yeah, I can see. I'm starting to learn those words now.
Yeah. It's to shine and then hinge. And it looks like that my meaning is worse than my reading for hinge. It's just weird, like hinge. I mean, again, it's like hinge around the corner to find the treasure or something like that. Like hinge around the tree. It's just a weird mnemonic. And shine, I understand now. Like kagayaku, I know the reading for that. But I haven't seen that in years. I haven't seen it in like I haven't seen it in a couple of months. So I'm waiting for it to come back to crush it, to burn it into the ground.
Burn it to the ground. Get a new word on here.
Seriously, I cut you off. What were you saying?
I don't know. Oh well. For the first one for hinge, I'm still picturing that treasure inside the what radical or what
So for hinge, the kanji, there's 3 radicals, right? There's the tree, and there's the enclosure, which is like a C. It's like a kind of it's like
a boxy C.
Boxy C, yep. It's like an open box. X. And then there's the X marks the spot for treasure inside of that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So,
that makes no sense, but okay.
Yeah. The hinge part is weird. It's like hinge around the corner or whatever to find the treasure. It's like really, really obscure and kind of hard to put into a mnemonic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I should have made up my own mnemonic, but I'm lazy. So the grammar word lesson. of this podcast that I wanted to talk about is the volitional form. So I'm sure you're familiar with that because it's a kind of I don't know why it's kind of easy to understand for most people in Japanese class, right? Do you agree? Like tabemashou or sagashimashou.
And I used that wrong the last week. I don't remember what I said.
You did.
I think I said, or I don't remember if it was last week, but we were talking about you coming to Seattle, and I said we should eat, and I said it in, how did I say it?
You said like
I think I just said
tabetai or something.
Yeah, I said tabetai instead of tabemashou.
Yeah, right. There's a nuance there. You're like, I want to eat. It's like, okay, cool, go eat. And the other one is like, let's do
this is like, let's go do that.
Yeah, let's go do this verb. Yeah. So and there's different, there's different conjugations, like spelling, basically based on the verb, right? So if it's 一緒に食べましょう, 食べる, so the root verb. If it's the mas form, if it's the mas form, it's pretty easy, right? It's just like masho. You just put that into the. But if it's a less informal, less formal form, it would be like tabeyo. So that would be something that you say to your friend or somebody that you're casual with, like your family. You'd say tabeyo, and so that's more. So the masho form is really easy, right? Because again, it's mas form, so it's always going to be the same. It's always going to be masho. But if you say, root dictionary form, taberu, and you say, let's eat, like informally, you'd say tabe yo. So yo is the form for that. So ru is yo. It changes to yo. But if it's like sagasu, so the u ending is su. So sagasu means to search, like to look for. Mm-hmm. If you say like, let's search, let's go finding something, like let's go on a Dora the Explorer adventure, then you'd say sagaso. So you just change it to like a o form, but kind of kind of makes sense, right? Like it's su, and you change it to so, not yo. You don't say saga yo. You don't say that. You say sagaso.
Sagaso.
And then another one would be like hon, like a book, right? So you'd say 本を読もう. Yomu is a dictionary form, so you change that to yomo. So it's kind of like just like changing the last kana to the o kana and then adding u. It's like a formula for that. Yeah, it makes sense once you get used to it. But basically, you just change it in your head, like o. So how do I change that to o? Oh, I just do so, or I just do yo. The ru to yo is kind of weird. Like you don't. Oh, tabero. You can say that too. You can say tabero, but tabeyo is tabero. No, tabeyo is how you say that. There's actually you can say ro in certain cases. I'm trying to think of a good one. But yo is a more common, I think. Anyways, that's the volitional form. Yeah.
Well, I was looking at the list, and it's nice because I don't remember what Godon or Ichidan means. But it looks like, at least for these examples, the words, so this is either tatsu or itsu. Which one stands? Is it tatsu?
Tatsu, yeah. Yep.
Tatsu.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then it's what is it? The volitional form is tato. But a lot of the rows seem to have the same they're in the same row of hiragana. So like tatsu turns into tato.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Tato.
That's actually very nice. Tato. And then she knew.
That's crazy.
Why is that on there?
I have no idea.
She know.
Yeah, kaku is to write, kakko. Yeah. Kawaru, kawaro. There's an example. So kawaru, kawaro. And then another good example they have is And it's weird, right? Because like kawaru is to change, like you're intransitive. You're not transitive. Is it intransitive or intransitive? I think it's intransitive. You're not doing, because I'm bad at the grammar words like describing it.
Yeah.
Kawaru is like you're not doing any changing. It's just changing on its own. And so you say kawaro, which you don't really like. But what's weird is that kairu is something that you're doing, and you say kaiyo. So maybe that's the difference between godan and ichidan. Um, it looks like it is. But I don't know. It's some of them are weird, like oyogu, oyogo, and there's just things that you learn through context, because there's a bunch of like, not a lot, but there's some exceptions. Like kuru is like always, kuru is weird. Like you say kuru for the dictionary form, but you say kimasho for the keigo, like son keigo, like the polite form, and then for the informal irregular, sorry, not irregular. That's just like, it is irregular. For the informal way to say like let's go or let's come over here, like let's come, you'd say koyo. That's an article too. You say koyo. I hear that. I don't personally say that too much, because it I don't really have the times where I need to say that too much. I usually say like kite. Like I'll say that a lot, like koku kite, but I don't really say koyo. That's kind of weird. I don't really say that in conversation too much. There's probably, Judy's probably like, yes, you do. I don't. It's good to be familiar with it, you know?
Yeah. Huh.
The weird thing that I'm still like, when I'm reading this, is that it's weird to me is the kawaro versus yo, like taberu, tabeyo. That little nuance is a little bit hard to explain.
Sorry, which one?
So like the formula, right, is if it's a ru verb, then change it to yo, like tabeyo. But when it's, sometimes you change that ru to ro. So like, for example, kawaru, which is the one above from kaku. Do you see that? Kawaru, kawaro. That's kind of weird, and I don't remember. I can't explain why it's that and not kawayo. But I've never heard kawayo. So for me, it's like just knowing that I've never heard that kawayo before, I would always say kawaro.
Yeah.
But it's also
a weird and yo don't sound too different.
Yeah. The other things are easy to understand, like kako, yogo, shino. I don't know why they have an example there. That's kind of dark.
I don't know either.
Manabo, yasumo. Yasumo is a really common thing that people say all the time. Like, you know, you're walking around the city or whatever, and you want to take a break. You're like, yasumo, kyuke shio. Kyuke is like rest, like break. Kyuke shio. Yasumo is more like, I'm gonna go lay down or take a holiday or something. So.
Okay.
Interesting.
Another avenue to dive deeper into.
Yeah, and I love that. And this is actually, I can say this now. It's the Japanese grammar guide on the Tofugu website is actually pretty good. They're adding a bunch of new examples, it looks like. And obviously, Tae Kim's guide to Japanese is also great, because he has like really long articles with a ton of examples, and then a bunch of like helper things on the website for you to like hover over the words and see what they actually mean, so that you're not focusing too much on not being able to read words. You're focusing more on the grammar, which is really helpful about that website. So I definitely recommend Tae Kim's Guide to Japanese, guidetojapanese.org, as well as obviously the Tofugu website.
Yeah.
For a bunch of stuff on grammar and wanting for vocabulary. So, Khalil, you are starting the conversation today.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it was my software updating in my head. Okay. All right.
I'm ready for it. Hit me.
Hold on. you said something to me the last time. It was like, was it Junbi or Junbei? Junbi?
Junbi, yeah.
Junbi. What is the verb form for that? Like, how do I?
Junbi is a noun. Which is weird. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like ready, right? Ready is sort of. Is ready a noun? It can be a noun in English, right? It can be to ready. It's sort of an old way to say that's a verb.
Well, it's all ready, you can also say, "Are you ready?" Like,
yeah,
you know, or you can be ready, which is get ready.
Which is
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't
know. I think so. Anyway, hajimasho. Pato-san.
Hi.
Hold on. Oh, okay.
ちょっと待って。
Yeah.
はい、待ってます。
はい、待て。
準備ができたら。
はい。あと、夢。変な夢は再現率します
再現率します
再現率。
再現
いや、違う。思い出す。
最初から始まりからもう一回言って。はい。もう一度。
加藤さん。
はい。
変な夢を思い出すください。
思い出してください。変な夢を思い出してください。教えてほしい？
はい、教えてください。
はい。実は、昨日の夜、変な夢を見たんですけど、覚えてないです。思い出してないです。だから、なんだっけ。変な夢、あったから、思い出してみよう。いろんな変な夢。小さい頃、最近じゃないけど、小さい頃、子供の時に、結構思い出せる夢は、なんか、すごい、崖すごい、もう、まっすぐ、こんななんかまっすぐの崖があって、で、なんか、それで、があって、こっちとこっち、なんか映画に見えるような場面みたいなやつ。例えばなんかワイプアウトの番組みたいなやつで、でもなんか、アイアランドに見つけられる環境みたい。だから自然。この崖がなんか石、すごい、もうガタガタの石で、こっちも同じような、なんかノルウェーかアイアランドかに見つけられる壁だから自然だけど、まっすぐのやつで、こっちとこっちにあって、で、真ん中ら辺に、その中谷の一番、上に、なんか歩道みたいな感じで、こういうなんかすごい丸い歩道にありそうな石が飛んでた。こうやって。それで、僕がこの崖から飛んで、石の上に飛んで、で、なんかすごい高い場所じゃん。だからすごい怖がって、もう落ちたら死ぬとか考えながら、も 一個一個飛んで、で、二個目に飛んで着いたら、急に僕が、逆さまになって、で、これやべえと思って、落ちちゃった。で、一番下のところに着いたら、起きた。目覚めた。その夢が結構思い出せるよね。わかりましたか？
いいえ。
じゃあ、他の夢はあるかな？
たくさん言葉知りない？
どれが知らなかったんですか？どれの言葉？
たくさん。
たくさん
たくさん。
学系わかる？学系。
学系は、いえ。
まっすぐの、山に、山にもある、こういうまっすぐな急の壁。でも、山のか、自然のまっすぐの壁。自然ってわかる？自然。
いえ、わかりません。
nature。自然は nature。
壁、意味は何ですか？壁。
wall。だから自然、nature の壁 wall。自然でできた壁。って言ったら、崖。結構、もうこの島だったら、和風だったら、崖から海が見える。わかる？英語の言葉。言ってみて。
言ってみて。
言います。言ってみて。言ってみて。カリルさんが言ってみて。英語の言葉。
いえ。
知らない？知りませんか？
知りない。知りません。
はい。その言葉が cliff っていう。cliff。だから、こっちの崖とこっちの崖があって、向こうにお互いに、お互いに向かってるけど、こっちとこっち側。横から見てたら、右側と左側に崖があって、谷みたいな感じで、こうやって、谷みたいな感じで、で、真ん中ら辺に、その間に、飛んでた石、歩道にありそうな石があって、で、僕が、こっちの崖から石の上に飛んでた。
飛んでは、
飛びます。
飛びます。
ジャンプ。
飛びます。
ジャンプ。いや、こっちの飛びますもある。でも他の意味は、ジャンプ。そう。飛んできたでも言ってもいいんだけど、いや、でもその時に言わないよね。だから飛んで、で、2個目に飛んできたら、逆さまになって、その石が、掴みながら、僕が石を掴みながら、石が急に回転されちゃって、こっち逆さまになっちゃって、で、僕が 手を離しちゃって、で、落ちた。その谷の一番下に、で死んだ。死んだかわかんないけど、でも、急に目覚めて起きて、うわっってなって。
はい。面白い。
だから怖い夢でした。怖い。
はい。怖い夢です。
だから結構思い出せるよね。思い出せる思い出。はい。いい質問でした。いい質問でした。他の質問がありますか？他の質問がありますか？
質問ありません。
はい。終わりにしますかい？
はい。
この会話。はい。じゃあ、おしまい。
はい。
終わりでございます。ぷっぷぷるぷぷぷ。Is that copyrighted? I don't know if I can say it.
Now we're shut down forever.
That would suck. So how was that? That was a good question. Like that. It got me talking more though.
It sure did. There's a lot of new words in there. I got only bits and pieces. So did
I tried to use the rock. No. So I fell. So I'm trying to. There's a couple of different ways to say that, and I didn't do the best. I said hold on the ariso on that. So like sidewalk. A stone that you would find on the sidewalk. And I was trying to think of like the good way to explain that. But some of those like round stones that you would see like in a path, like in a garden or something like that. I should have said that. Like niwa ni ariso, niwa no hodo ni ariso na, like garden, sidewalk, a stone that you'd find on the garden sidewalk, or like a garden path.
I see.
Yeah, like a garden footpath. Like the round, like flat stones that are nice to walk on in like gardens. Mm-hmm. There's like a bunch of big those in the sky, and there's two cliffs on either side, and then there's stones floating in the middle. And I am standing on one side, and then I jump to one floating path stone, and then jump to the second one. As soon as I get to the second one, the stone goes sakasama. Sorry, what did I say? Sakasama. Sakasama is like upside down. So sakasama goes upside down. And then also you can say like gyaku ni nachatte. So gyaku is like opposite or reverse. But sakasama is better because it means upside down. So I say it goes upside down, and tsukami nagara, I'm holding onto the stone, and then teo hanashichatte. So I let go accidentally of the stone thing. So I'm hanging on like this, and I let go of it, and then I fall to the deep dark depths. And then as soon as I felt it in my chest, as soon as I hit like the bottom, I woke up.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was not fun. Recent though. That was a long time ago. I've had some weird dreams recently, but I don't remember them enough. Mm-hmm. There was like a tsunami that I got pummeled by. I don't remember the details of. Yeah, so I couldn't like describe it.
It was good, I think.
I should have asked you, and you would have to describe your dream. But let's switch. So next week I'll ask you more questions, and we'll just like alternate or do whatever. Maybe we can have again a guest on. But that was fun.
I agree.
Did you have any more questions or anything you want to say about that conversation? How did you feel? I feel like you were listening more.
I was really trying to, because I was there was so many new words in there.
Like what?
Like the nature word you taught me, and
shizen, yeah.
Shizen was. Well, could you? I had a vague idea what you're talking about because you said like nature and kabe.
Yeah.
What were you trying to describe with that? Like.
So I was trying to say a wall you'd find in nature, like a natural wall. So I was trying to describe what gake was, cliff.
Oh.
It's like a kind of a natural wall, or like kyu no kabe, like a steep wall. So kyu is like steep, and na is just like making that into an adjective. It's like a steep wall.
Okay.
So I was trying a bunch of different ways to like describe it, and then hoping you got one of them. Yeah. It's a natural wall, a natural steep wall, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I notice that I get a little bit. I try to describe too much, and then I'm using a bunch of new words that don't really make any sense or like aren't known. So then I try to stop doing that, and then I go back to the beginning to try to explain in more simple terms, or like more Japanese English terms.
I see. Yeah, when you were doing that, I didn't realize you were trying to explain Cliff to me, so I thought you were explaining more, and I was like, "Whoa, I don't understand where he's going with."
Yeah. That happens a lot, and it happened to me honestly when I was visiting Japan for the first couple of times, maybe like the first 3 or 4 times. People would do that to me. They'd try to explain what they're talking about, and for me, I was, especially the first or second time, I would get like overwhelmed, like, I'm totally lost. What are they saying? And so I would try to listen more, because they wouldn't really talk to me too much, because they knew that I didn't really understand what they were talking about. So they would talk to other people, and I would try to listen, understand like the whole conversation, or at least what they were talking about. And then I would get that, like get the main theme. And then sometimes somebody would say something, and they would like totally break the thought in my head of what they were talking about. I'd be like, oh, I wasn't following their train of thought at all, because what this person said doesn't make any sense to what I would thought it was they were talking about.
Yeah.
But then you just keep, it's just all listening, right? You get listen, and you start to understand. Then you start to ask questions that you think are part of the topic. And then sometimes they'll be like, oh no, we're not talking about that. But at least you're like, oh, okay, you get feedback, then you try to listen more, then you try to say something. And that's how I got my confidence, especially, with people, like my family. It's really easy to do that. With obviously like new people, they're always like judging you based on how much, and maybe it's not intentional, but they're kind of like saying, okay, how much does this person actually know Japanese? Can I actually talk to him in Japanese? Or do I have to try to speak English myself? And that now that's the funniest thing ever. When I have Japanese people try to speak English that don't really speak English at all, they like go up to me and try to say a couple words, and sometimes it's for practice, which is cool, but sometimes it's just like because they think that I don't know, and then so they'll try to use English, and then I'll be like, yeah, Nihongo de daijoubu desu. I'll say like, it's okay to do it in Japanese, and then this happens all the time. They're like, Nihongo shaberu n da, and then we'll speak in Japanese.
Nice.
But that first like encounter is always really funny. It's just like they are trying so hard to think of like English words they can use in a conversation. They'd be like, "Hi, oh, here." And I'd be like, "Nan desu ka?" And they'd be like, "Oh." Which is nice though for like foreigners, I guess, coming there. They don't, because no one expects you to speak Japanese.
Yeah.
But for someone who's been speaking Japanese for years, though, it's a little not tiring, but a little bit like, I always expect that when I first conversation with a new person, like they're not going to expect me to speak Japanese, and then they're always like, "Oh, your Japanese is so good," but they said it to everybody, even if like a couple words, they'll say like, "Oh, your Japanese is so good," and it makes you feel good at the beginning, which is great. But then when you get a couple years down the line, you're just like, "Okay, yeah, but okay, let's just stop this weirdness and like talk about what we're actually talking about." It's just like an awkward like couple moments, but I've gotten used to it. But I guess it's better than the opposite, like where they expect you to speak perfect Japanese. Like over here, people expect you to speak perfect English, or at least be able to communicate with everybody, and that's really intimidating to people. And Judy and I talk about that all the time, like where she feels obviously a lot more comfortable here in Hawaii, where they speak pidgin, and there's a lot of people from a bunch of different Asian cultures, so not everybody speaks like perfectly grammatical, European English or whatever. And it doesn't matter. No one really cares about that because everybody understands each other. So that's a lot easier for her because she doesn't have to worry about that kind of like, not necessarily prejudice, but like that type of like automatic judgment. So I totally understand it. Like when I was in Norway, for example, and then like everybody thought I spoke Norwegian So they'd always talk to me first in Norwegian, and then I'd be like,
nice.
Snakker du engelsk? Do you speak English? Because I had no idea what they were saying. And then I'd be like, yeah, a little bit, but they speak like perfect English. So that was helpful for me.
God.
But everyone here doesn't speak perfect Japanese, right? So it's hard for Dweebz. So, but I mean, you get better that way too, though. You definitely get better when it's a necessity. So you try to make it like a necessity for yourself, you'll get better. So, if you live in Japan, though, Japanese is a necessity for sure. Like their English is so terrible. So it's fine. All right, dude, that was a fun conversation. I'll try to ask you more questions next time. But I feel like, kind of short and simple is also really fun. So you can like take those couple of words that you learned. And then, I want you to come at me with a couple of new words too that I don't know. That'd be fun.
Hard.
Or just like look up some words in the dictionary that you want to use, like a sentence or whatever, like in a story that you want to say. Make a couple of notes.
Okay.
And then say it to me. Because I want to be, there's a lot of words that I don't know. And there's a lot of conjugations that I don't know. So I want to practice too,
Yeah.
All right, dude, that was fun. We're gonna end this, right? So we got our ending. Do you remember your ending? Your phrase that we're trying to do here?
Peace.
All right. Ready?
Peace. Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah. The voice.
Say that again? Are we good?
No.
When I do stuff like that, Judy absolutely she does the exact same thing. She doesn't know how to respond. She's like, what the heck? And then sometimes I do that all the time to her, like do weird voices and stuff, and she'll laugh. But then I do it in public sometimes by accident, just like because I'm such in the habit of doing that. And she's like, stop, don't do that. Don't do that here. Like, I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Fine, man.
All right.
Good times.
Ta-ta.